Welcome back to the neighborhood, boys and girls. Our first guest of tonight is John Duffin. John, Keller Williams. Multiple different things. We can't really put a title on you because I see on your Facebook it's the digital creator, entrepreneur, podcast.
Correct.
Yeah, you're hosting events. You're doing a whole bunch of stuff to be awesome. So we do stuff a little bit different. We always like to talk about the journey. And I really think that that's what separates people from each other. And everyone I know in the real estate industry, almost everyone I know, I'm sure there's maybe one or two people that don't, but almost everyone I know has this real awesome story. Like they started out shucking clams at a place and they met a realtor, or something really nutty that they did that they got here. So tell us a little bit about how you ended up in the real estate industry.
Yeah, and first off, thanks for having me.
Sure.
Really, it's great to see you, man. I love loving your journey too. So for me, I came out of a lengthy career in broadcast advertising sales. I'm a Villanova University grad. That was a long road to get done. Some personal stuff.
Nice.
They took that more of a delayed route to get through, but did finally. And then entered into a career in broadcast ad sales where I did that for over 25 years. And I got to work with some great companies like Univision, like Tribune, like Greater Media Radio, and an independent station in Philadelphia. So I pretty much ran the gamut. I mean, between sales management. God, I was even given the chance to have decisions in executive management and programming. And so I loved every bit of it. And so I did that until 2019. And it was a hell of a lot of fun. All
terrestrial radio, all that, or was
no, mostly TV.
Okay.
Mostly TV. Greater Media Radio was actually the only radio and the smallest in terms of time.
Gotcha.
But Univision Television, Spanish language television, Tribune, which is WPHL TV in the Philadelphia market.
Sure.
And 90% television.
Nice.
And all broadcast.
Okay.
As a matter of fact. A little bit of digital and streaming, but all that. And as I said, I got to meet a ton of great people, have a ton of great things happen, you know, and was, like I said, and given a lot of opportunities. So I'm really grateful for all that, right? And then that career effectively ended around 2019.
Gotcha.
I got my real estate license at that time. I also launched Duffin Media, which started as a voiceover company. Now has morphed into a full-blown communications company, hosting podcasts and coaching people in regards to presenting better. And that sort of thing. I just did a presentation class at Keller Williams Philadelphia very recently. And so I've been able to get to do that. Plus I'm grateful to say that I get to speak in front of audiences, which I've never really done in my life. I get to do that now, which is fun as hell. So
I saw you were doing the hosting of the Philadelphia Real Producers.
Philadelphia and Bucks County.
Nice.
So I just did the Bucks County one at the Buck Hotel. And I've done the Philadelphia one before too. I'm a massive fan of Josh Buchter.
You look like that was like your thing, but that isn't what
it's
you're
one of my
used to
things.
doing.
It's one of my things.
But it wasn't what you're used to doing, right?
That's 100% correct. Right. So that was the first time I spoke in front of a live audience. Was for Josh Buchter and the Real Producers event, and it was the the Academy Awards event that was held at Rivers Casino.
And how did you prep for that? Because a lot of people, whether it's real estate or anything else, when they get to that pivot moment or when they're doing the thing that they've never done before that seems maybe daunting or it seems a huge challenge where that voice in the back of your head goes, you're going to mess this up, you can't do this, you should just quit right now. How do you push through that and how do you get to the other side of doing that?
That's crazy. So you obviously were in the room with me as it was all those voices were running through my head. But I remember I had met up with Josh. He told me of the event. I wasn't actively seeking to do that. I just wanted to align with Josh Buchter somehow. Just was drawn to him. He's an absolutely wonderful human being. And a great conduit in terms of business situations. He picked me to do this. And so that voice went off instantly. Instantly and repeatedly, right? And it was like I think there was probably about 303 or 350 people that were there. It was oversold.
Sure.
I remember being there that evening. The answer is twofold. Number one, constant communication back and forth with me and Josh.
Okay.
Like, it's one of the things that I've just come to learn. I'm grateful that people taught me, which is you can't be over-prepared. It's not possible.
Right.
You just have to make sure getting everything buttoned up, right? I was giving him a rough draft of what I wanted to say. I was, even in pronouncing the names of the awards nominees and all that stuff, just making sure everything was buttoned up. And then you show up the day of the event, and then that voice is really loud.
Yeah.
Really loud. So it was in Philadelphia. As I said, it was at Rivers Casino. And I walked into, and it was the room that they use for concerts. So it was a big room,
spot, right?
Big stage.
Can't hide. You're the focal point of the event.
Right.
Can't hide.
Big stage, and all, like, everything was like oversized, right? And I can remember I'm pacing around the stage because they had everybody outside, and then they're going to bring them all in.
Right.
And I just remember two things. Number one, before I was on that stage, I was literally going through notes and all that sort of thing. And one of the people that I'm a big fan of, and his name is Chris Stevens from Keller Williams, Philadelphia. Sure. So I love the guy. And and so he literally walked in. He's in some crazy, great-looking suit, and this was really like dressed to impress, right? I hadn't even put my tux on yet, and just was like getting frantic and insane. And he literally sticks his head in, and he's like, "Well, you might want to think about getting dressed." I'm like, what time is it? It was like 30 minutes before the event. Right? So now everything is spiraling. I get dressed, and I'm pacing that stage. And what I did was something that I was taught that I've now pulled into active practice in business, but it started from a personal thing.
Sure.
Psychologist that I work with, therapist that I work with. His name is Joe Dowling, and he also trains sports teams. University of Pennsylvania, Rutgers, their basketball teams, their lacrosse teams. And he taught me this technique in terms of the Navy SEALs breathing technique, and a couple of other mindset techniques. And I used it, and it worked.
Yeah.
And I remember I went from frantic to it was going to happen, and it did. Yeah. And it was a fantastic
And I saw
experience.
the clips of it. You would not have known that it was your first time doing it. Or, there's a real common thing called different names, but a lot of people call it imposter syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
So it's, my voice talks to me all the time and says, these people are going to find out who you really are.
Oh, you're a fraud.
Like, you are not qualified to do this, and you've been bullshitting everybody, and they're eventually going to find out.
James, I would win that argument so often. If this was like a documentation thing, I would be coming in with all sorts of ammo as to why I'm a fraud, and I was this and that. Yeah. But you can't. You simply can't.
Yeah.
So I literally had the experience. It was amazing. And after the event, I'm talking to Josh Buchter, right?
Yeah.
And I said, I don't think I told you that I've never done that before. Right. And Josh says back to me, he goes, and I don't think I ever asked you if you had.
Yeah.
I just knew that you could.
Right.
And I did.
It didn't matter.
And now, and it's one of those things that when I coach people, that it's really important that it's like you can't not attempt things.
Sure. One of the most painful mental things that I've done in my life was, of the few times I gave in and listened to the voice and didn't try the thing.
Ain't it awful?
And then later did the thing. Mm-hmm. I had a situation, I won't get into the long story, but there's something happened with my daughter where I backed out and didn't do it, and then did it later, and it was fine. Mm-hmm. And the guilt and shame that I felt from robbing my daughter of the chance to experience this thing with me, and that I tell people all the time that failing or miserably embarrassing myself would be nothing compared to the guilt and shame of not attempting
to
quit.
It would never be that bad. But have you ever, for example, bagged out of not going to an event.
Sure.
Or a party or something for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And I've done that.
Yeah.
Right? Where it's like, I wasn't feeling on my A game.
Sure.
Another example where I have in the past beat myself. And then you get the reports as to how fun the night was. Oh my God, it was great.
You see the pictures.
This happened, the pictures were incredible.
Yeah.
And then you beat yourself up for not doing it. So what I've learned is don't do that.
Yeah.
It's so easy to, right? You're just not gonna hurt anything.
Yeah. And the other thing that I've learned in talking to some really famous, incredible people, they go through the same thing. Like Ed Milet is one of the highest paid speakers in the world, and he will tell you that before he walks out onto the stage, half the time his mind tells him, this is the time you flop. This is the time
it's
you're
this
exposed.
time. All those other ones were a fluke.
The thousands of times you've done this is the time where they're going to expose you for the fake that you are. And I always just thought it was me. You know what I mean? I always just thought I was the one that had that negative voice and no one else did. And after talking to people, it makes it a lot easier to walk through the fear, because I just know it's going to happen. Actually, it's very alarming to me if it doesn't happen. If I'm about to do something and I don't have that crazy negative voice, I think to myself, something's wrong here.
Right. It's the energy, though. And I think one of the things that I've come to realize is, and people have helped me with this, but it's the sense you're just transferring energy. That sense of nerves is a sense of excitement. And my belief is, when I talk to other people and when I go through it myself, is, well, you should be really excited. This is an unusually big deal. Meaning, if you're lucky in your life and you get these chances, right, these opportunities, it's like I never really thought I would get the chance to speak in front of audiences. Now, the good news for me was when I presented it all those years in broadcast ad sales, I didn't count that.
Right.
But I could draw on it. You know, I spoke in front of clients and all this. And I'm saying that not to impress anybody. I'm simply saying it because most people have that body of evidence.
Sure.
Most people have done things that can translate to other things. And that, to me, it's just a sense of transferring the energy and remembering you've done things that are probably way harder, or way more, you know. So this is just not that hard, and that's the sort of thing that helped me go with that as well too.
So let's talk a little bit about your present day real estate experience, because you are Keller Williams.
Yeah.
Do you do more than sales, just sales, commercial, residential? What's the career path of how it is?
Right. It's not a big part of my portfolio, but when I do it, like I said, I help anybody at this point. I actually prefer rentals to purchases.
Okay.
I like them because I feel like it pretty much opens every door. I live in Center City, Philadelphia. I am quite familiar in regards to living circumstances, in regards to all the high rises that are not only there, but continue to go there.
Sure.
I think, for myself, I've lived in Center City for a lot of years, and I really have come to realize with a lot of people that I know, some family members, friends, and clients that I've helped, that the rental experience can be a great one.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
And for people that don't necessarily, that want to, they'll sell their place, which is great, you know what I mean, in order to either wait to make another decision or take advantage of living in a often very luxurious environment. And that's fun for me. I like those sorts of buildings in the buying or the renting part. I just like it.
Sure. And that's different because most people will shy away from that market. Most people don't want to talk to a rental. Most people don't want to do that.
I hear you.
So it's good because I'm sure that opens up some doors for you that other people wouldn't really take.
Yeah. I mean, there's such great buildings in Philadelphia specifically, where I come from, right? That, I mean, they just opened up across literally a cat-a-corner to where I live. The Laurel is the condo building. That's now like they're calling that the crown jewel of Philadelphia. But there's a rental component, same building. It's the exact same building, which is literally side by side. Those units are gorgeous. And the Atlantic is another one on Broad Street that's just incredible. I just am drawn to contemporary high-rises.
Nice.
And some of them now are more rental-based. So, but you asked me, what I typically would say is, I'm more in terms of the marketing and communications, period.
Okay.
Right? And again, I literally, like I said, I taught a class at Keller Williams Philadelphia very recently, which had to do with helping the realtors understand how important it is to be able to present and communicate better.
Okay.
If you're asking for big money, if you are asking to get a listing, if you are asking for a buyer to do something really important, you've got to be able to say it in a way that they believe you're credible. And that was the whole focus. So that's really where I get most of my satisfaction in regards to the real estate market.
Now, you do your podcast.
Correct.
And do you do coaching, mentoring, or anything with realtors as far as media publications go? And that seems to be the weakest part of most realtors' business plan right now. A lot of them are so shy with the camera, and that was another reason why we wanted to do this, was to get people used to doing some media stuff. And you see the people that put videos together, whether it's TikTok or Facebook or personal stuff, seem to get traction from it because so many realtors are very hesitant to do that type of media stuff.
I agree with you, and I think it was at one time more of an image thing, that no one did anything.
Right.
And then they were putting up still photos.
Yeah.
And then they were putting up videos with a single phone camera. And now they're more elaborate. But they don't have the personality of the one telling the story.
Gotcha.
And to me, it doesn't take much. And by the way, this is what I tell any realtor, anybody in terms of communication. You do not have to sound like anybody. You simply have to sound like the most authentic version of you. You don't have to sound like an announcer. You don't have, no one wants that. No one even wants it, let alone needs it. But instead what takes place, that should take place, is a really authentic line of communication. Because people are drawn to that. And that's what I'm coaching realtors to do. That's what I'm coaching my own clients to do. It's a matter of speaking authentically, not speaking pretty or sounding like an announcer. It's authentic because people buy in. That's the only way they buy in, when it sounds true and real.
Yeah.
That's how you typically get results.
We're going to do something we don't normally do.
What's that?
We're going to take a real quick break because I don't want to lop the video off here. We're going to take a 2-second break, and we're going to come back with the second part because I really want to finish up this interview. Back from break again with John Duffin. John, I want to finish up here. I didn't want to cut it off. We normally do like 20 minutes, and we have some video glitches when we go over 20, but I wanted to finish it off.
But I talk a lot.
I really want to get into the media and the publication part, because that seems to be where you're focusing your energy, the Duffin Media, all those things. So tell me, like, an everyday, you don't have to go hour by hour, but a day in the life of John. What are you doing, and how are you spending your time? What are your main fields of influence, and what are you doing both for business and for personal?
Start business, thank you. So the business side, you've got to find the people that would gravitate toward what you want. You know, that's business 101. So I use social media a lot. I use it for more than just posting. I use it for more than just video. I use it for a direct line of communications. So you're asking, I've got to talk to people. I've got to find people that I'm literally targeting. So whether it is realtors, whether it is my former field, broadcast advertising sales, where people are all in transition. The technology has changed. The methodology has changed, and people still have to be able to present. And my thing is, so what do? I'm finding them on LinkedIn. I'm finding them on other social media platforms. I'm actively reaching out to them in terms of garnering opportunities to speak with them. So whether it's a group coaching opportunity, whether it's a singular one-on-one coaching opportunity, that's a big part of it.
Okay, now are you critiquing something that they put out? Like, are you saying, hey, look, I saw the video that you put out and I really liked what you had, but, or are you saying, hey, I went on your profile and I don't see anything. This is what I see a real lacking thing for you?
I think that's a great question. I tend to come from a more positive slant, because I know when people come to me, I don't see that. I actually get
defensive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So for myself,
I tend to be the jerk.
Well, and that will get you ahead, really. But sometimes, what I'm going to say is,
turn some people off, though.
My whole deal is optimizing your communications.
Sure.
That's the whole deal. There's no good, bad, right, wrong.
Right.
It's simply a matter of, there's a lot of people that communicate well, but everybody can communicate better. And so what it's a question of, are you optimizing the platform? When you're on social media, are you doing that? I just had a conversation with somebody today where they were doing great and they were doing a live, so like a Facebook Live, right? And some of the things that I've been taught, I was realizing when I'm watching their Facebook Live, I'm just noticing things. I'm like, okay, that could be improved, that could be tweaked, right? And I literally just reached out to them and said, I see a couple of things that you could even take this up another notch. Right. And to me, it's just the phrasing of things,
sure.
Right? So that is a big part of it. In terms of what else is going on, hosting the podcast, I call Your Message Received. And what I'm looking for are the most authentic people that speak authentically, that have gone through something, that have been knocked back a few times, and can tell the story well. My thought is, it took me a lot of years to be able to be true about myself, to be able to be honest about what things, the way I've lived my life and the choices I made and what have you. Even being true about, who I am, it took me a really long time. And the whole purpose of the podcast is to help people be their most authentic, true self. It's a business imperative, but obviously it goes personal.
Sure.
And my thought is, by the people that I bring on to talk with, if they can help anyone save a step in the communications process, not be quite as worried, not bang their heads as often as I have, in terms, not take as long as I needed to get there.
Yeah.
Well, then I feel like I'm doing my job. And they're the people that I seek in terms of the show.
Nice. Now, are you talking like building a personal brand? Is that what you're talking about? Because I know that a lot of people that don't have business backgrounds but are in business, whether it's real estate or whatever, they don't understand the importance of building a personal brand. And they don't understand that you may work for Keller Williams or EXP or anything like that, but you are...
Always,
Jim
you
Bucks.
are.
You are, and you can put that, whatever signs on the front of the door or on there is going to change a million times, but you are your brand.
You're the face of the brand.
And if you aren't truly communicating as an authentic person, you're always going to have a disconnect, and there's always going to be an issue there that people will see. And if you are genuine and if you are authentic, the name can change, you can make mistakes, you can mess up transactions, you can do a whole bunch of stuff, but when the authentic you comes through to them, you'll be successful. You'll be business successful, at least.
I couldn't agree more. You've interviewed a lot of famous people. You've interviewed a lot of famous sports figures, and they change teams. They age. They go from MVP to maybe not quite, but the brand is so important for them.
Sure.
They know that they can't just ride on the team they happen to be with. It's how they carry themselves, their daily habits, how they're communicating. Are they decent to their fans, the reporters, what have you? That's the brand. And you can sink a brand so quickly.
Yeah.
With a bad interview, a bad communication, if you're working with clients, it takes so little to get pushed aside. So to me, it's optimizing every situation because the brand is so important.
Yeah. So if someone's watching this and they're thinking, hey, I would really like to do something to improve my brand. Yeah. What's one or two things that you would suggest to people that are thinking, hey, maybe I do need a little more brand recognition, or maybe I want to take a couple of chances and be a little bit more authentic? What are some things that you would recommend to the regular everyday person out there?
When you're posting on social media, have a point. Don't beat yourself up as to making the point perfect, but have some sort of a point. You do not have to spend hours creating a post. In fact, don't.
Yeah.
But just literally have some sort of a point. That it's like, today I'm going to post this. And then just ask yourself one simple question. Like, who does this help?
Yeah.
It should typically help somebody, somewhere. That will improve your brand. If it's simply a matter of, I do this and I do that, stats and your GCI and the number of closes, but you're not helping anybody.
Right.
And people will recoil from that. To me, who are you helping? Literally, how does this post help anybody? And two, try to be personal. Try. You want to take the risk? Download a little bit of yourself.
And in that vein, because my follow-up was, most people's fear is if they expose a part of themselves
then it's all over,
that it can be used against them in the future, and they're always worried.
And it's on video, so
oh man, you said this or you did that. And my thing always is, I'm not a huge rap guy, but I always joke around and say, well, listen, if you watch 8 Mile, Eminem won the whole battle because he exposed everything negative about himself, and then you don't have anything that people can use against you because there's no guilt and shame anymore. There's no, no one's got any secrets about you. So that's always my thing. Like, just be authentic. But I know that there are people out there that are like, I can't say that. I don't want to say I drive a Honda because what if they drive a Toyota, or what if I'm alienating people? But I never really know I know my hard ass answer to that question, but I don't know the professional.
Oh, I don't know that I know that either. But I'll speak for me. Just from experience, not that I know anything, but just from experience, right? I was really guarded my entire life. I'll very specifically, like, I didn't come out of the closet until I was 40 years old.
Okay.
I can't let you know. I had a 30-year drinking problem that everyone else knew.
right.
We're just had to hang out with me for a few minutes.
We're not really good at hiding that stuff.
Biggest secret in the world.
Although we think we hide it from everybody.
I never let you know. Or this. Look, minutia, rap sheets. Do not necessarily need to be, you don't need to lead with it.
Right.
But don't be so, that I talk about, it took me a really long time. Just saying that, looking you in the eye and saying that.
Sure.
Right? That wouldn't have happened 20 years ago.
Right.
My age. I felt like this has taken me a really long time to get to this point, right? I have to pretend I'm 30 years old. I have to pretend I am uber successful. I have to pretend. No, you don't. No, you don't.
Right.
It's literally, people really do pay attention to authenticity.
Yeah.
If it's being couched in a way that can help somebody.
Yeah, and I always say,
because it can help somebody.
It can help a lot of people, and it's always better, even if it's not a lot. If you only have 10 people that are your fans,
right?
It's better to have 10 people that are your fans that will go to the wall for you than it is to have 1,000 people who are just ambivalent about it. You know,
I just did an episode I do with my buddy Chad Levine. I love Chad Levine. He's the great good guy. So we host a weekly Facebook Live show, and I did it solo because Chad had a business commitment, and I did it solo a couple of weeks ago. And we call it your Motivational Monday, and I laughed because I was so not in a motivation head. Just wasn't. All those voices that we were talking about earlier, they were all there on that Monday morning. So I didn't sugarcoat it. I spent a lot of time in my life as a people-pleasing, needing to make you happy.
Right.
You could be anybody. You, anyone watching, everyone watching. And my second fear was if I disclosed anything, you'd either run, beat me up, embarrass me, I'll never work in this town again, all that nonsense, right? And then you find that's not true. And then you find that the people that I remember that I respected the most, and still do, weren't like that at all.
No.
And so I don't know what got me to take those small risks, but put a piece of yourself, take the smallest baby step to make it a little bit less about your image, your aura, a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. And see if all those terrible things that you think are going to happen. And they won't.
Take a risk.
You know what I mean? And they won't.
Yeah.
And then maybe you'll take a slightly bigger, because when you can step into just, all right, fine, I'm just going to do this. I was terrified starting a company 4 years ago. Yeah. Terrified. Because I always worked for big companies. You know, and then it was just me.
Sure.
And at the very beginning, I loved all the freedom. It was amazing. You know, I get to call all the shots. But then you realize it's like, okay, well, no, it's just me. And so you've got to build the infrastructure, the everything, and you learn.
Yeah.
You know? And that's what I was going to say. So for anyone, like I said, take the baby step. Make it just the simplest question. Who am I helping with this post? Yeah. Does this help anybody other than just me? Don't overthink it, number 2. Put a piece of yourself in this, number 3, and see where it goes.
Nice.
Lastly, be consistent.
Yeah.
Don't overthink this stuff. It's like, okay, oh, that post was awful. My posts were frighteningly bad when I look back on them now. Yeah. And they were all 12 hours long.
Yeah.
Right? I work with a videographer now. He tells me the same thing, and it's true. John, one thought, one video. One thought, one video. 2 thoughts, well, that's 2 videos. You know what I mean? Just don't worry. Just put one out tomorrow.
Got it.
Right?
For sure. All right, final question we're going to go through. We did the past. Yep. We did the present. Let's do the future.
Sure.
Give me some check boxes, some goals. We're going to move the calendar to July of 2025. What are some things that you have on your goal list, some things you're going to accomplish, and some boxes you're going to check off between now and then?
Thank you. So one of the biggest checked boxes that I know will occur will be I'll speak on stages in groups of speakers.
Okay.
That's important to me. I love collaborative efforts.
Okay.
And so a group of high-powered speakers, I'll be one of them.
All right. I like that.
I don't know how many times it will be. I'm hoping it's a series of times between now and July 2025, but it will occur. That the stages will get larger. That I'll continue another, which is that as Real Producers continues to evolve and grow, and it will, that there is still a place for me in terms of those events with Josh Buchter.
I like that.
That matters to me.
I like that.
It's really important in terms of the coaching platform for myself, because I really believe in helping people that I'm with high-level organizations, and I'm coaching teams within those organizations, because I, in my heart, know that those sorts of training and development are getting phased out of major corporations. But it doesn't mean there's still not a terrible, important need. And for those people that just don't have anyone to help them in regards to leveraging their own voice, that there'll be a place, and I'll get to do that.
Nice.
And lastly, from a personal side, which is really, like I said, my goal is to live a mobile, fluid life.
Okay.
And so places that I've been that I want to get back to again are Portugal. Typically water makes me happy.
Okay.
And so lengthy amounts of time, but having access to people all of the time. That's really important, that mobile, fluid life. If I'm living 3 or 4 places during the course of a year, and by my choosing.
Nice. That is awesome.
And James, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming by. That was awesome.
Absolutely my pleasure.
We will be back with the next guest on Mr. Mortgage's Neighborhood.